Hello, and welcome to another episode of Conscious Living here on 100.5 FM CFRO Co-op Radio in Vancouver. My name is Marc Caron, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce my co-host and partner in production, Michael Kraus, who's joining us today. Michael, always a pleasure to see you.
Well, always a pleasure to be working with you. And I think today we are in for a really, really, really special treat. I've had the honor to have conversations with Jimmy Cohen a few times, and what an inspiring young man he is, and his dedication to the environment and what he's achieved in his lifetime is unbelievable, unbelievable. So I'm super, super excited to be here today with you and with him. And shall we bring him in?
Yeah, let's bring him in, talk about his work because it's pretty inspiring what he's already done. And it's very inspiring to see what he's also going to be doing in really what is today's July 1st. So we're talking 21 days from now. So let's bring him in and let's hear about his passion and mission.
Awesome. And so Jimmy Cohen's love for the environment was instilled at a young age thanks to his mother's activism as a koala advocate in Avalon, Australia. Witnessing the destruction of koala habitats fueled Jimmy's desire to protect nature. His early experiences in planting trees and advocating for conservation set the stage for his future endeavor, including the Guinness Book World Record for planting the most trees in one single day. In a world grappling with environmental challenges, individuals like Jimmy Cohen are leading the charge by leveraging Web3 community and blockchain technology to create positive change. Jimmy's passion for the environment and his dedication to making a difference have led to the founding of TreeGens, an organization that is harnessing the power of Web3 to drive positive impact. Welcome to the program, Jimmy Cohen.
Thank you so much for having me. Let's grow.
let's
I love it. Let's grow.
let's go. Wow, wow, wow.
Fantastic. Well, welcome, Jimmy. And, I got to say, it's pretty impressive. I want to find out how you were able to plant 30,469 trees in one day by yourself. That's
Yeah,
one thing I want to hear. But before we get started, maybe tell us a little bit about your story. I know Michael was sharing in your bio. You're inspired by your mother and her activism, but maybe tell us a little bit about your story, your journey, and what brought you to where you are here today.
sure, Mark. So yeah, the seed was planted, if you will, back when I was 4 years old when I planted my first tree. And the reason I did that is I was born in this little town called Avalon, Australia, and they were actually illegally cutting down many trees, including the eucalyptus gum trees, so that they could build extra apartments. And it was actually against regulations. And so my mother protested and organized all these different rallies. She actually walked all the way up and down this entire peninsula in order to campaign for this. And she used art and activism to try to change policy. And she did make a great impact. And we also did a lot of tree planting, and that's definitely what first got me interested in environmental work. But it was really in 2019, you might have seen on the news, forest fires just engulfed my home country of Australia. And when a lot of people see messed up things, they look away. But in that moment, I forced myself to watch those videos, and it was just heartbreaking to see, these sentient beings, these animals that experience pain to be burnt alive. There were 3 billion animals burnt alive, and this just brought me to tears. I broke down. I felt horrible, like the world is a messed up place until I took some action. I went live. I shared how I was feeling about it. I launched a little Facebook fundraiser that supported a local nonprofit trying to do the best they could. And of course, it didn't change the whole situation, but it was something. And I felt this rush of energy just flow through me, like this is meaning, this is purpose. We can actually do something about this. And And that energy is what really fueled me to do crazy things like plant trees for 24 hours, practically nonstop, on 3 times. It took me 3 attempts before it became an official Guinness World Record. And the reason I was so determined to make it happen is because I knew that it was a stepping stone towards breaking a much bigger world record. And this is most trees planted by any number of people. So just one country, Ethiopia, managed to set this record by getting 616 million trees planted in one day. And sure enough, the Guinness World Record helped us form many collaborations. When I was at COP29, we not only partnered with the Ethiopian government, but with 8 other nations now are going to be collectively planting as many trees as humanly possible. And I think there's a pretty good chance that we get to 1 billion trees in a single day. And this has never been done before. And once we accomplish it, I'm sure it won't be the last time. I think it's gonna launch this movement of regeneration all across the world. People are gonna see what's possible, and the next goal is gonna be 8 billion. One for every human in the world. And I think we're gonna have so much forward momentum. We'll be able to regenerate so much of Mother Earth that I think we'll be unstoppable at that point. We'll be able to really make a massive and lasting impact.
Beautiful. And so let me ask you this, because I saw in some of your videos and some of your material, you're planting mangrove trees.
Right.
Is
Yeah,
that, is there a reason specifically for the mangrove tree for you?
there are, yeah. So the billion trees will be various types of trees, more than 40 different tree species. But personally, I'm very focused on the mangrove tree b- because not only do mangroves sequester up to 10 times more carbon out of the atmosphere compared with terrestrial forests, but they're also an incredible tree species for biodiversity. So many animals thrive around the mangroves. They even protect the shorelines from erosion, which helps the coral reefs because the sediments from erosion destroys coral reefs. And there's so many animals that are born and around the mangroves, in the water and on land. And and that's a big reason why we're doing this. It is for the broader climate change action, but it's also about helping all of the animals thrive again. And that's why I'm so passionate about the mangrove tree. Another thing that's mind-blowing about this tree is they actually can desalinate ocean water. Like humans have barely cracked that at a reasonable economical way to make ocean water drinkable. But this tree, which has been around for so many thousands of years, has been doing this for a very long time. And so they can take in the ocean water and they sort of almost sweat out concentrated salty water and they are able to nourish themselves, which is also really sustainable in terms of the trees being able to water themselves is a huge plus. And so also they're quite efficient to plant. These little propagules you'll see behind me, you can stick them in the ground and they can germinate in the ground, which is also very efficient. You don't need the plastic that goes around the seedlings, and then there's a transportation, and then there's the whether or not they can take root. It's phenomenal that they can actually thrive and germinate underground. It's almost like an underground nursery as well. So it's yeah, the more you learn about the mangrove tree, the more your mind is blown, and so that's why my startup TreeGens is very much focused on the mangrove regions, though we're also supporting the broader movement of tree planters around the world with the ultimate mission and vision of the vision is a world where anyone can plant trees and earn a living, right? Right now it's a lot easier to do that destroying nature, unfortunately, right? You can cut trees and you can sell the wood for lumber or charcoal or you could get paid the same day. But but if a tree planter wants to do that, it's a lot harder to get those kind of opportunities, particularly in remote parts of the world, where all these mangroves are. And so, but despite that, the carbon credits market is about 900 billion a year, yet those funds aren't available to the people on the ground. And so to create this vision where anyone can plant trees and earn a living, where we're doing decentralized planting rewards, so that people who are planting these mangrove trees initially, and then we're going to branch out to other trees, they can wake up in the morning, they film before and after in an application, an AI that we train counts exactly how many mangroves were planted, and then we have a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, which does some verification. So just by ticking a few boxes in the app, they can verify that the trees were planted correctly. And then 95% of all the tree token rewards go directly to the planters on the ground, and then 5% goes to the verifier. So the incentive to verify all of these things at scale, and all those funds are going directly to the planters on the ground, and we're able to support the price of these tokens. Ultimately, people are going to sell them to put food on the table, but we're going to do centralized carbon projects and then use those funds to back these tree tokens all across the world. So it's centralized carbon projects, decentralized token rewards to ultimately work towards this vision where people can plant trees and earn a living.
Incredible.
Wow.
Thank
Wow.
you, Mark. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So let me ask you, the whole of Ethiopia on July 22nd is
Yeah.
going to come down to, and their vision is to reach 1 billion trees, or planting 1 billion trees in one day. How come we've never heard about this in North America? And I know this action was going on last year, and when I first heard about it, I thought, this is unbelievable. This is such an inspiring story, such a beauty of coming together, of collaboration, of a combined passion for Mother Earth and the restoration, and yet there is zero zilch in conventional media. So why do you think, what happened there? Where's this? Is it just not on our radar, or is it not important enough, or what's your
Yeah.
take on that?
Yeah. There could be multiple reasons why this is the case. And actually they have, oh, you guys can still see me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Yep.
good. Okay. Glitched a little bit there, but yep. So that they've actually been doing this for 3 years. So the first year of this 1 day initiative where the whole country just plants trees. They have essential services open, hospitals are open, pretty much everything else is closed. And so and even on the political level, they have, people in politics planting and everything, and it's like everyone in the country just volunteers to plant trees. And so the first year they got 350 million planted in a day. The second year they got 560 million planted in a day. And then last year they got 616 million planted in a single day. And this is an incredible accomplishment that does not, it's gotten some coverage, but it's nowhere near what it should be. And, part of this could be due to verification challenges. It's not an official Guinness World Record yet. They have their own ways of verifying. And with the TreeGen's proof of tree technology that I described, we're going to greatly enhance their verification, which will also lead to more acceptance and trust and ultimately coverage. But also, yeah, it's an awareness problem. I don't think there's been a big kind of PR push and outreach, but there are over 3,000 journalists at COP29. I spoke with dozens of them. All of them were interested in covering it, including 2 BBC reporters. So I think we're going to change that finally this year. I think 1 billion is just going to be this massive jaw-dropping number where people are going to be like, okay, we have to cover this. Oh, yeah.
Well, a
And
billion's a big number. And, I get thinking of, part of me is, I always know the why is the most important because then the how always shows up. Yet
yes.
my brain always goes to the how, like preparing even 1 billion trees for replant or for
Yeah.
planting is a huge feat in and of itself. And
Yeah.
then it's the planting of those trees. Now, before you go further with that, you're saying it's not just Ethiopia in this go round in a few weeks, right? There's more countries involved.
There are. Yeah. Just a couple days ago, we got a commitment of 100 million trees from India. We're still working on some of the details through that, but a person that worked on there, they also have large scale tree planting. And so this is called the Grow-alition. It's bigger than Tree Gens, it's bigger than Ethiopia. South Africa pledged at least 1 million when we met with them, and I think they're going to do even more. Nigeria is going to be planting a lot of trees. This is global. Fiji, the Palau, the one of the leaders of the Palau environmental movement is trying to get all 12 Pacific Island countries involved now. And this is something that's going to just grow and grow and grow in future years because, you know, I don't know if you guys have heard of the 4 minute mile, but for decades, people thought it was impossible to run an entire mile in 4 minutes. They tried for a very, very long time, and a lot of people thought it couldn't be done. It wasn't possible. But the year that someone did it,
Roger Bannister.
yeah, okay, yeah, there you
Oh,
go.
I know the story well. I use it
Yeah,
often.
dozens of other people did it, right? And the only thing that changed is that they saw what's possible. It's the belief, and the
Well,
same.
and just a nugget, just to throw in there, not that I mean to interrupt, but when he was asked how he did it, he visualized it in his head, doing it time and time and time again. So it's the visualization, the emotionalization, as if it was real, right?
Hmm.
And
Yes.
that's what he attributes his success to. Because, like you say, nobody thought the human being could ever run that fast.
Exactly,
And
exactly. So he believed it was true through visualization. And then once he did it, other people didn't have to visualize as much because they could see that it was already done.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the same thing is true for 1 billion trees in 24 hours. Right now, I tell this to people, they think I'm absolutely insane. They're like, what are you talking about? 1 billion? How is that even possible? But it's absolutely, in fact, Ethiopia, as a government, they have already collected and generated 7 billion seedlings. They're ready to go.
Wow.
And they've allocated between 0.5 to 1% of all tax revenue towards these seedlings and supporting these nurseries across the country. And it's not just about climate change. It's also about food security. It's a lot of challenges that the country has faced. But the whole country, 34 million plus people participate in this. But the average per person is only about 25 in a day, you know? I don't want to put it down. It's great, but I think it can be a lot more. So what I'm trying to do is we're reaching out to all kinds of sponsors and we want to have some prizes. We're trying to turn this into like the Grow Olympics, right? It's
The gr-
Game of the Tree Planting. Yeah, the Grow Olympics. It's gonna be a thing. And so we're gonna have teams, we're gonna have individuals, we're gonna have prizes, and it's gonna be really motivational to try to get people at least to, 35 on average per person. We do that. The seedling's already there. It's just a matter of how much is actually possible. And we're talking about a couple hours of planting here, if that. And so I think it's absolutely possible for Ethiopia alone to get to 1 billion, and that's what we intend to support them to do. But with all these other countries, we really stand a chance at making it happen. And not only that, we're growing this as a movement. And my goal is for other countries to see what's happening in Ethiopia and take note and hopefully do something similar, right? The tree day, where the whole day the whole country, we just plant trees together. And not only is it great for the environment, not only is it great for food security, not only could it potentially support all kinds of great initiatives through the carbon and biodiversity credit markets, but it's also just a great way to unite, right? When we can all do something together, we're really united. And I think over time, and of course you guys know this with Unify, it's like when people can do something together, when they can enjoy something together, we start to realize that hey, we actually have a lot more similarities than we do differences, and there is conflict in parts of Ethiopia by the border, and I think a lot of those conflicts, if you really boil it down to the roots of it, it's an us versus them mentality, right? There's division and people see each other as separate. But when you're doing things together, when you're uniting and you're sharing something that you genuinely both can enjoy, then it creates that camaraderie and that sense of actually we're one. And I think that's another beautiful positive externality of an already incredibly positive initiative is that we can really unite. And I hope the more countries that do that, they're not just going to unite domestically.
Oh,
Nope.
I think we might have lost him.
Lost a little connection. He'll be back.
Yeah,
But still, what an incredible feat, Michael, when you think about it, just a billion trees in a day.
yeah. And I want to go back to the 4 mile um
The
um
4 minute mile.
the 4 minute mile, because I was watching a relay, women's 10,000 meter relay the other day, where they broke the world record. And when you witness whatever is going on, when you witness that world record being broken, there is something within you that is so uplifting for the whole of humanity, or for yourself, that there is joy in it. There is so much richness within that experience, simply witnessing it and being part of it. I can imagine. I've never been in the Olympics. I've never tried to break a world record. Um, and being within it must be even exponentially. I can't even imagine. So, what would it take for us in Canada or North America to come together on one day, and ideally maybe July 22nd, 2026, in a year and something from now, and join into that movement, and we all come out and we start planting trees all over. And how beautiful would that be, in that shared lived experience for all of us.
Well, I completely agree. And when you think about, the deforestation in so many parts of the world, we see what's happening in the Amazon, for the sake of, animal husbandry and mining and everything else, not to mention just what we see here in Canada and locally here in BC. You look up at the mountains and they got all this clear cut going on. Now they do, replant, but imagine if every citizen in the world, like Jimmy was saying earlier, were to plant one tree on one day.
Mm.
Or 25 or 35. Yeah,
Yeah.
or at least
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, but
I'm
yeah,
just talking
exactly.
about the 9 billion, you're talking from going from
Yeah,
1 billion to nine, many hands make light work, right? And if you can do
that's
one, you
it.
can do two. And if you can do
That's
two, you can
it.
do four, and so on and
Yeah,
so on.
exactly. Yeah, when we get the 8 billion done, one for every human, we're not expecting to have every human participating, but over time, who knows what's possible, if we can get practically every human participating, and they're doing, yeah, 30, 40, 100, boom. I mean, we have 2 trillion trees to catch up on. That's how many have been destroyed off of our planet. And so we got to think big, as Les Brown says, you can't stroll towards your goal, like we really got we really got a lot of work to do. And so by thinking big, and by also not seeing as, I'm a part of this refi movement, that people who are using blockchain to regenerate nature, and there's actually a lot of really incredible startups in the space, and a lot they don't see each other as competitors a lot of the time. They're seeing each other as comrades, as people who we're all working towards the same mission, and we're supporting each other in so many different ways. It's very collaborative, and I think that's the only way that we can actually solve these massive existential problems like climate change. It's through collaboration, or grow elaboration, as I say. And I mentioned the Grow Olympics. I got a whole grow vocabulary. Don't worry about it. For the
I
grow,
love all your puns. They're
yeah,
amazing.
no, yeah, the Grow Coalition. So for the Grow Olympics, actually, when I was at World Economic Forum, I met the head of sustainability for the Olympics. And they introduce new sports all the time. They had like break dancing and all kinds of stuff, right? And I'm like, what about tree planting? Like that's a physical activity. We're gamifying it. And he absolutely loved the idea. Of course, he's not the final decision maker. We got to pitch it to the rest of the Olympics. But what we're going to pioneer on July 22nd is gamified tree planting, really trying to make it a sport, right? And make it competitive, with teams and rules and objectives and accomplishments and trophies. Like I want to celebrate the tree planters. I want to make the tree gens the next rock stars and really put them up on a pedestal and celebrate them. It's not about Jimmy Cohen. It's about the next, the next wave of planters who are going to set records and celebrating them, because that's what's ultimately going to inspire people to take action. And yeah, it takes all of us. It takes as many people as humanly possible, to really fix things. And it's growing. It's snowballing, The more people that join, the more people that want to be a part of it. And people are really coming out of the woodwork to connect and support. People I didn't even ask to help me with things. They're just coming and saying they want to support in various ways, and it's really beautiful to see. This movement is really flourishing, and I'm so excited for what it's going to grow into.
Well, I really love and appreciate what you're saying about, making sure that the recognition is there for the people who are doing this work, because, in the world today, there's a lot of great unsung heroes, as I would say, that people don't see or know what they're doing and their contribution to making the world an even better place. And I think it's great that you're doing that. Now, you've mentioned a number of times as well in regards to blockchain and people being able to make a living planting trees. What's that about?
Yeah. So I understand that this can sometimes be like conflicting information. A lot of people think that blockchain is not good for the environment because of Bitcoin, which uses energy. There's been an innovation in this space that most people don't know about, and that's called proof of stake. Actually, the energy usage went down by 99.9999%. So it's actually a lot more sustainable than the traditional kind of like banking system is, for example. But what we're doing is the only way to create a tree token is by planting trees. So we're launching something called mGrow because it's for mangrove trees, and we have a great methodology for that. And literally the only way to create this token is through our proof of tree protocol. And it's for decentralized planting rewards, right? We want people all around the world to be able to earn a living by planting trees. And we do expect them to sell the tokens. Some people might hold on to them for various use cases, but when they sell them, we have to balance that with the buy pressure. And so to create the demand as well, so that these things can hold their value as people are earning it all around the world, we're integrating them and through a lot of partnerships with many different types of organizations and businesses so that they can basically become social enterprise. For example, there's an app for every download they want to plant a tree with us. There's a group that's dedicated to doing at least five, and now they're doing 10,000 trees every month with us. I'm speaking with Emirates Airlines for every, so that we can integrate this into each flight, for example, right? So that like, so consistently, we can have this buy pressure for just the companies who want to say, hey, we planted trees, and this is going to be the most transparent way to plant trees, to fund trees, right? Because the beauty of the blockchain is that there's something called an open ledger, so everyone can actually see transparently all of the transactions and everything that flows. Everyone can verify. And so we're creating a really nice interface to see this, but it's funds coming in to fund the trees on the chain that everyone can verify, and then also updates going out that everyone can see, that everyone can verify. And that's been a big problem of the impact sector, is that a lot of people think that well, maybe for good reason, that some of these impactful organizations aren't really trustworthy, or maybe they're double counting things, and there's been some shenanigans that have happened, right? And in fact, there's a study by the University of Waterloo where nonprofits that got a seal of transparency, their donations went up by 56% the next year.
Wow.
And yeah, that's not a small amount. Yeah, and so I just know that there's so much funds that are waiting, that would love to go towards the things that matter in this world if they really trusted everything that's happening. And so what tree funders will be able to do through our proof of tree protocol is they'll be able to see a nice user interface of a globe where you see all of the different tree planting videos. You see before, you see after. And by the way, only 1/6 of a tree token is minted and issued for the initial planting. An additional 1/6 is for every 6 months over the course of 3 years. So one tree token will represent a mangrove tree which has grown to the point of 3 years. And if it grows to 3 years, there's an exceptionally high chance that it gets to the full 25 years, where it can sequester about 308 kilograms of carbon per tree on average, which is quite a lot per tree. And so you see the before, you see the after, you see the funds coming in on chain, you see the updates going out also on chain. We have video NFTs with AI tree counting over it, and so it's all publicly verifiable. Our goal is to create the most transparent tree planting imaginable. But the first thing that we're launching is actually for governance. A lot of organizations and they have decisions made in a boardroom where, it's like you have to be there. It's centralized decision making. But what we're trying to do is grow a global movement, right? And we're trying to support tree planters all around the world. And so what we're doing is we're launching the first piece of this puzzle is called TGN. It's a governance token where basically every token is a vote in strategic decisions of the organization. And it has to be what's called staked. It's basically put away so that you can be a verifier. Because not only do you get rewarded when you verify that the trees are planted correctly, there's also an accountability mechanism. So if someone is maliciously verifying, we can also do what's called slashing, where a bit of their tokens are taken away to remove bad actors, so that everyone who's verifying these trees is not only rewarded, but also held accountable. And so this is how we've created a scalable system for tree planters to be funded around the world. And we're also going to be infusing funds from the carbon markets into those tree tokens so we can have sustainable value, and that ultimately people can put food on the table, when they're planting trees. Because, it's hard. For a long time, I was really angry at the people who were cutting down trees illegally, and by the way, it even happens in Kenya, where you can actually go to prison for 5 years if you get caught cutting down the mangrove trees because of how vital they are to these ecosystems. But then I started to learn that, like, the underlying problem of deforestation is relating to poverty. Like, if you have to put food on the table today, or if your mother has a disease and needs medicine and you can't afford it, you're going to do whatever it takes. And so it's hard to be, mad at just the individuals cutting the trees. I think the fundamental economic system is broken because we value the destruction of nature more than we value the regeneration of nature. And that is changing, right? There are a lot of companies that have pledged to be completely carbon neutral, and they have to offset if they make that claim, and they have to buy these things. But then those funds aren't then available to the people on the ground. There's typically big companies. It costs hundreds of thousands of dollars just to measure these carbon projects. And so, of course, small, planters and farmers aren't able to participate in that. And so there's big investors that come in, and there's middlemen and all this different stuff. But we can abstract away a lot of that stuff. We can make the funds available to the people on the ground. We can support planters all around the world and grow this movement. And so that's why we've decided to leverage technology in this way, because at any point, wherever you are in the world, initially the 123 mangrove countries, but then we're going to expand to various types of trees in all different jurisdictions. You'll be able to plant trees, you verify it, you get the tokens, and you can sell them, and you can put food on the table. That's the goal, and that's decentralized tree planting. That's why we're leveraging blockchain. I know it was a bit of a long-winded answer to your question, but that's kind of a full scope of it.
Can you mention the website name where people can find more information about your project? And I encourage everybody to go there, because the animation that you've added to the cursor on that webpage is literally when I first looked at it, I thought, what is going on? It's so beautiful on the cell phone or on the mobile device as well as a computer, and it's almost addictive. It's like playing a game, and I felt like a little child. And I think simply that is a reason to go to your website. But it's not the true reason. It's how can people sign up. Another question that I had for you, and that might be something outside of this radio show, is what are the chances, or what is the number of population that is going to be able to participate, because you also need access to internet. And so
Very good.
I would love to have a conversation with you as to how we can potentially provide remote internet access to you in those areas, so that everybody, that it's not a luxury of, I know that in Africa and some part of the world, internet access is a luxury to a certain degree. And I know of some technology that might completely eliminate that.
Wow. Okay. Definitely want to have a follow-up discussion about that. And yeah, we do have some solutions to that we can get into as well, but definitely always open to exploring more. It is a bit of a hurdle for people for sure, particularly as you're filming and having to upload those. So thank you so much for the kind words about the website. I actually worked on that a lot myself. I'm not a developer, but fortunately with AI, I was able to build some things, and my brother helped as well. And we really wanted to set that apart, and we have a video as well, so you can see on the website a video of the tree planting Guinness World Record that I did when I got 30,469 mangroves planted in a single day. And you'll also have an opportunity to grow the movement and to be a member of the organization. There's a button on there that says "Join the Grow-alition," and the Grow-alition is this movement that we're doing. When a lot of DAOs try to launch something like this token, they'll get like big investments, and then the investors sell the tokens, and then the people in the community end up not being the ones that benefit from that, and then can go down. We've completely rejected that idea because we're entirely grant funded by our community. There's something called quadratic funding, pioneered by Gitcoin, where basically people can donate and then they match the donations according to two variables, the number of donors and the amounts that they contribute. But the number of donors is a lot more heavily weighed in this quadratic funding formula. So by getting a lot of people to donate a small amount on chain, we can get a lot of matching. And so we were actually voted first place 3 times out of hundreds of startups in this space. And so I'm incredibly grateful to the people that supported us, that got us to where we are now, where we can break world records, partner with ministers of environment, build all this incredible technology, and really work towards this stuff. So we're doing things a bit differently. We're doing things by, instead of to have this big launch and this big awareness campaign, we created this referral program where if you refer a friend, they get a 10% bonus, and you can also get 10% as well. So that's in the Grow-alition. And then you'll also get notified the moment that the stuff launches, if you wanted to be a part of it. But you can also just be a part of it by planting trees and submitting them through. If you wanted to reach out, you can holler at me, and my email is holler@jimicohen.com. So that's my name right there, holler@jimicohen.com. That's my email if you wanted to be a part of this movement in any way. Um, and yeah, so that's the main thing. Also, you mentioned internet. That was actually a really important feature that we built into this app because, well, first of all, you're not able to find something online and upload it and make any kind of claim. You actually have to film within the app, right? And this is important now with AI generated videos. People can create all kinds of realistic stuff and upload it, right? And so you have to film within the app, and your GPS is automatically captured, and that adds to the transparency factor. But then the question is, what about the internet when to upload it, right? And so what it does is it will save the video if you don't have access to internet. And then the moment that you do gain access, it will then upload. So that's a pretty neat feature, that because a lot of this planting goes down in very remote regions of the world where reception is a challenge, even if you do have internet bundles. And so we built that in. We built that in so that it will upload once you do. But then the question is, well, what about if they anyway don't have access to internet? So I'm curious, Michael, what is this solution? Do we have time to get into it at all, or is this a discussion for another day?
I think it might be a discussion for another day, but I'm working with a group of indigenous peoples here in Canada who've developed a device specifically for indigenous peoples around the planet to gain access to the internet through a mesh network. And so it works on 3G, 4G, 5G, then satellite, and then it accesses it through radio waves. And so it literally allows anybody to participate in a project like yours with this specific device. And I believe that the inventor of that specific device, it's called the Love. Uh, don't quote me on it. The device is called Love or Baby Pods, and it's L.O.V.E. And it's an organization or the company or the origin is in the Okanagan, an Indian band, and their whole vision is to support indigenous peoples across the planet to be part of not just the economy but also being able to share their stories, the underbanked, the underserved, and how can we really also verify specific projects as an impact media to demonstrate the effects that people have on the ground, because that is the part that you've talked about early on. That doesn't really come to the forefront. There is NGOs supporting those farmers or supporting people, but in the end, how can we get the money where it's most needed, and that's directly to the farmers, to the people, to the villages, to the communities on the ground, and for them to be able to verify the impact that the money or the resources have made for them. So this is the whole background behind this project, and I would love to introduce you to the founder of this project, and he's a genius actually. But it might be outside of this radio show right now.
Well, I think, Michael, we can we can take it and make it a radio show when we're ready to announce it, because the other thing that came up for me was, you know, here in Canada where we are, we take it for granted having internet access all the time, everywhere. We've always got it on our phones, our computers, and there's a lot of other parts of the world where people don't have that kind of access. And we know the benefits of being able to have access for communication and news and
And
connection, though it's important to acknowledge that it's not like that in other parts of the world.
that is true for inner cities, and but that is not true for indigenous communities across Canada, because many of them still don't have proper internet connection or Wi-Fi connection, and um, this is where in my opinion, this is where the wisdom lives. This is where the solutions to our planet live, in those indigenous communities, because their knowledge, their wisdom, and their methodologies as the stewards of the land, and they've been carrying that for thousands of years. So we need to come back into remembrance of that wisdom, and again, the many First Nations communities across Canada don't have that connection. They don't have that luxury or the standard that we enjoy on a daily basis in cities like Vancouver.
Yeah. And then now, Jimmy, you said something else I just wanted to highlight, because we got to wrap up pretty quick here. But you said something along the lines where we value the destruction of nature more than we value, the sustainability and taking care of nature and the planet. And it really sat with me in a way that I just wanted to acknowledge that statement, because nature is why we're here, and how do we turn that around? And part of it is the movement that you're doing in terms of bringing awareness and, most important, action to doing something tangible, measurable, and impactful for the planet. So thank you for the great work you've been doing and all the people you're involved with. And, for those people maybe not part of Jimmy's organization or wherever in the world, for anybody who's being a steward of the land, of the planet, of nature to work on reforestation, sustainability, just big shout out. And, for those of you who aren't doing anything, maybe it's time to think about what can you do. We have reduce, reuse, recycle. That's a big part of it. And what more can we do on a daily basis in our actions? Just
Yeah,
food for
well said.
thought.
Well said. Yeah. Yeah, there's the little things like, composting and yeah, recycling. It might not seem like it's making a huge difference, but these are habits that really stack up even on an individual level over the course of our lifetime. It really does make a massive difference and something anyone can do. I can almost guarantee if you're listening to this, you eat fruit from time to time. I mean, you can take those seeds, right, and you can germinate them, and you can plant them, and so yeah, everyone can grow something, and I really hope that people do try to plant with us on the 22nd. By the way, this is monthly Earth Day. All right, where Earth Day doesn't have to be every once a year. We actually do this every single month. There's a whole initiative around this. We've got like more than 100 different projects and individuals that are doing stuff every single month on monthly Earth Day to celebrate it. And that's uh that's another really cool initiative. And yeah, we were pushing for World Environment Day initially for this big world record, but we ultimately had to align with the rainy season of Ethiopia because they're not doing mangrove trees and they have to optimize for survival rates. So it makes sense since they are the ones really pushing the boundaries that we need to align around that. But I'm glad that it fell on the 22nd because that's monthly Earth Day and so I hope that everyone this monthly Earth Day can do something, whether if it's planting trees or if it's recycling, composting, picking up plastic in your local area. It really does add up over the course of your lifetime if you can have these kind of habits and over the course of many people taking action. I mean, that can actually change the world. So let's all unite. Let's all do what we can and let's grow.
Yeah, and specifically the idea of eating fruits and then saving the seeds. So the core of the apple, if you take it out, we could start germinating those apple seeds and putting them into the soil for next year for July 22nd. And here in Vancouver, we can't really grow oranges and lemons and peaches and apricots, but apples do work. Pears, apples.
There you go. Yeah, it's
I
important.
also love the idea of growing, trees that provide sustenance for people and for nature as well.
That's it. Yeah. That's a big driver. It's also a really good sustainability practice, right? Because again, we need to change the perception of trees to be valuable while they're alive as opposed to valuable while they're dead. And and that's another, I mean, mangrove trees, though there is one like, rare variety that does actually produce some form of fruit. Vast majority are not food related. However, there are actually a lot of industries and things that can thrive around the mangroves that will ultimately when supported lead to people wanting to keep the trees alive. For example, the most delicious honey that I've ever tried in my life actually comes from the mangrove tree. It's of course organic because these are natural forests. And there's this village called Shimoni Chachachakales, like community-based organization. They have these beekeeping things, and it's like dark in color, so it's rich in antioxidants and things like this. And so yeah, by supporting the business, whether if it's ecotourism or just things that are around these amazing trees, it'll ultimately change people's perception to see them as more valuable while alive than when they're cut down. And that's ultimately going to help with the long-term conservation, because it's not just about planting the trees, it's about making sure that they do grow. And fruit is a great one, because yeah, that can really feed a lot of people and provides food security while tackling the climate crisis. I mean, let's feed two birds with one plate, you know? I Let's change that expression. I don't know who was throwing stones at birds, but feed two birds with one plate. This is the new expression. Let's make it a thing. And yeah, that's a great thing with the fruit trees. Absolutely.
Beautiful. Well, we got to wrap up pretty quick here, Jimmy. I'm really happy to have had you on the program today, discussing your work. And I encourage anybody who's listening, watching this at any time, to find a way to get involved in some way, shape, or form to plant some trees or do something positive for the environment, because it's a movement that needs to change. And, if we all do a little bit, we'll get a huge result, because as they say, many hands make light work. So Jimmy, before we sign off, maybe you can tell people where they can go to get more information, join the Grow-alition, whatever that
Grow.
is. What
Yeah.
can you do?
So it's treegens.org. If you're watching, you can see on the screen treegens.org. That is our website. That's where you can see the Grow-alition. You can also see our socials. We actually dedicate a tree to every single follower on the X platform. From the Guinness World Record, you'll see me. I will send it to you. The handle there is at the treegens, so at THE and then treegens, TREEGENS. So yeah, thank you so much, guys. It's such a pleasure to speak with you. As always, Michael, you're a legend. Mark, it's so great to speak with you and meet you. You're doing a really top-notch, thoughtful and conscious discussion here, and I love this platform. So thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. Any final words, Michael?
Yeah, I'm just deeply, deeply honored that our paths have crossed, and what you do for the world, and how you show up in your dedication, not just for yourself but for others and the environment, and what an inspiration you are, and we're here to support you, and in every way which form we can, and many blessings to you, and all the best to you and your family on your journey.
Thank you, Michael. That means a lot. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Jimmy. Thank you, Michael. My name is Marc Caron. You've been listening to Conscious Living, where we are every Wednesday in Vancouver, 100.5 FM CFRO Co-op Radio. Until next time, take care of each other
And be kind to one another.
and plant some trees.
That's